Hi, this is Roberto Quezada, and I'm here with Walter at the screening of Phantasm, remastered at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville. And I just wanted to let Walter know that I'm a big fan of iWalter.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Yes. Hey, it's Walter. I wanted to do a show really quick. It's actually very early in the morning. It's almost 3:30 a.m. I got back from Phoenixville where I had, watched or viewed a restored with 4K, if I remember correctly. And I want to make sure I say this right now because I will forget how to say his name correctly. Roberto Quezada. Who was the producer of Phantasm, actually the film producer, on the film of the movie. It's difficult to kind of explain. So he was a really cool guy. He was a very nice man to meet. I actually could have done an interview with him. It was filled with a lot of interesting information, but unfortunately I was with my friend Matt, and he had, he has to work this afternoon, and he needs to get some sleep, so I understand. And he was actually, that's another thing I need to do right now. If I don't do these thank yous right now, I will totally forget, because I just seem to go off on, in every direction except, staying focused on one thing. So, yes, it is Sunday the 25th, and it's at 3, almost. It's not too far off. It's almost 3:30 a.m., so I don't want to be up myself too late. And one of the reasons for that, because I am going to be jumping around tonight. I'm going to really just seem like really off the wall, because I generally am. I have no consistency on my shows. But yeah, I heard this on Rush the other day on his show, because he's a big, I'm afraid to say this, actually, because I don't want to turn off certain people, but I heard it on Rush Limbaugh. He's a big thing on Apple, and he had mentioned that Mac OS, the new one, came out, and I kind of was half listening. I've been working a lot during the week. That's another thing I want to mention. Not complaining this time, folks, but something actually, damn it, I already actually forgot. Roberto, I am so sorry. I am so sorry about your name. I'm not very good with names. Matt's probably laughing his head off because I just screw up everybody's name. Anyway, he basically did a Q&A. I think it was before. No, I think it was actually. No, I'm sorry. I think it was after the film. I can't remember. This is how tired I am. But he had mentioned a couple things I want to kind of go in a little bit of. Into a little bit. So one thing was, by the way, I want to just mention was Rush had mentioned that Mac OS, I think it's called Sierra, because I had it right before I came on Sierra. It's basically the newest OS for people who run Mac. So, yeah. So anyway, that is out right now. I got to kind of listen to this again, make sure I got his name right. I'm going to make sure. Let's see, because I never do this, but I think I have to break my own rule, because I don't want to get the guy who actually producer, who makes some really cool films, actually said, hey, maybe sometime you could do a call in, and you could interview me over the phone. And it was like, yeah, I've never had actually anybody ask me for, doing an interview. Let me see. I'm going to open this up without destroying everything, I hope. So I'm going to try to listen to his name again, and hopefully I didn't turn off the sound all the way. Let's see.
Hi, this is Roberto Quezada, and I'm here with...
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I actually have to hear his name, too, because my name for a lot of people is difficult because it's Interrante. And, yeah, Roberto is... his last name is a little bit difficult for me to pronounce correctly, so I apologize. My mic's just kind of shifted. I normally don't play it out so loud that you can hear it in the background. I had to actually do that just because I want to make sure I'm not pronouncing this guy's name wrong, because he was really nice. And Roberto, I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much for doing that plug for my show. Yeah, you can learn a lot of information. He's actually, I would like to say he's a Philly guy, so he's like from, my state. Yeah, Roberto. So that was really cool. You kind of take for granted that there is a lot of people, that came from, Pennsylvania, period. So, and I wanted to mention really quick, because I'm trying to remember everything I wanted to say really quickly. But somebody had mentioned, because you don't hear too much about producers, the people behind the scenes. Sometimes you do. Other times you don't, and there's a lot of really, really top-notch producers. Probably most people, unless they're fans of a particular type of movie, a genre of movies, they're not going to really realize, hey, this dude, you could be walking past somebody who's like, very, I want to say, somebody who made some really good movies, producers, being a producer, a director, whatever. So, yeah, so it's cool. And he's actually, Roberto has influenced like a lot of other producers and directors that people would have heard of, if you have not heard of him. But he's influenced a lot of other people to go on and become, big-time producers and directors. Anyway, one film somebody mentioned, because I didn't know, I actually bookmarked this on Amazon, because I have Amazon Prime. And it was a film he actually was a part of. He was responsible for, called, he was laughing, I think, about it a little bit, Microwave Massacre. He was mentioned, and he was actually going a little bit of discussion who this main character in this film was a well-known comedian. I think this came out in like 83 or something. Let me try to open another window. So, I told you I'm going to be all over the place tonight. So, yeah, it was funny because I marked this off. It was like, okay, I'll just mark this off because I think I added to my Amazon Prime account, which I mentioned before. It's this thing called Shudder, which is basically a horror web link that you can actually stream through your TV, your media devices and stuff. So, yeah, I think that's where it came up. So, since I'm a, Shudder / Prime, Amazon Prime member, I'm able to actually view this, and I bookmarked it. I just never watched it yet. Because again, I'm always looking for new films that look kind of cool, and here, this was one I already had bookmarked, and when they mentioned, I almost had a laugh. Now, it's a little under an hour and a half. He definitely said it was supposed to be like a comedy, comedy horror. And, yeah, it was called Microwave Massacre. And it was actually out in 83. It says actually slasher horror. But I swear he actually did say it was a little bit supposed to be comedy, too, mixed in, a comedy horror movie. So I'm going to definitely now have to check that out. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of I haven't done that in quite a while. Maybe because I'm actually really tired. I slept in today, folks. I slept till 4 o'clock, but I kept on getting up, and I mentioned to my friend Matt that, and by the way, that's another person I have to acknowledge is Matt, because Matt Torrance, if you did not tell me about certain things like Tommy Conwell and the Young Rumblers, or even tonight about this whole thing you mentioned a couple days ago, if I was interested in going to this, it was actually, I thought Roberto said it was actually a 4K. It was like, it was what do you call it? It was cleaned up into like 4K quality as much as you can get out of it. So that is like actually really good of the movie of, because did I mention it? I don't think I did. So I'm sorry again, and I'm going to be apologizing a lot, of Phantasm. So we got to see the original Phantasm totally restored, which again, Roberto was a film producer on this. So very nice man again. Again, I just can't say it enough because it's really cool to be able to talk to him. Hey, by the way, talk about films. Why I saw this came up on my Facebook, and I don't know why, but I guess they made a film out of that whole conspiracy theory that we never went to the moon. That was all made up, and I don't believe that. I think we did. I don't know why it's such a big deal now, but I think the name of the movie, if I got it correctly, because again, I mess everything up. I can't say, unless I have somebody there to kind of coach me through difficult words, which is about 99% of everything I read. Like words like it and is are very difficult for me to pronounce right. No, but seriously, it's called the movie Operation. It looks like Avalanche. So yeah, it's like plastered for some reason all over some link I have connected to my Facebook page. So yeah, it's about the whole conspiracy theory that no, we actually never did go to the moon, which I think is a crock of shit, but that's just me. So, and another thing I have to apologize for, I hope I don't, I mentioned to Roberto that, a lot of stuff I say might be offensive to some people. And honestly, I'm, a person, my friend Matt will say, you should watch what you say or think before you speak, but actually my mouth moves faster than my mind. And, yes, you can say it's not an excuse, but trust me, even when I try to keep that under control, it just does not seem to work. So I don't know. It's just useless. That's just the way I am, and I don't know. I'm just not going to change, I guess. I hope I don't have to for anybody else. I just, it's a way for me to vent to this podcasting thing I started almost like a little over a year and some change now, right? So I just wanted to throw that stuff in. And I did have to mention somebody else because this is the guy who, I don't know if he's got a card for Villanova University. I guess he's like a professor. I don't know. I'm not sure. But his name is Charles Francesco Jr., and the dude's really cool. The guy's really cool. He's the one who actually brings this stuff about to the Phoenixville Theater. See, I can't even pronounce that right. Amongst some other guys. Like, they get together and they get all these films. They actually get them from different, from different areas. They borrow the film, so to speak, to show at Colonial Theater. And this was pretty interesting how they were able to set up what they did tonight with Roberto. So, Roberto, am I saying that right? I am so sorry. I'm not going to keep on playing that again and again because it's going to become a little redundant in the background if I have that soundbite of him, saying about the show. So, I think that was really cool. I wanted to actually interview these guys who put this stuff together just as well, but, time was actually very limited, I guess, so to speak. And, again, I couldn't actually do everything I wanted to do. And honestly, I don't know what it is, folks. I slept. I was up really kind of late last night. My friend Matt asked, so how late were you up? You're up like 9 o'clock. And it's like, sometimes I'm up that late, almost 8, 9 o'clock, with no sleep. And because I'm so wound up from work, because I work from 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 12:30. So it's kind of a crazy shift, but I don't mind it. But, yeah, it's just funny, and I just been really burned out all week. Now, I mentioned my friend Matt Tarns asked me about something I said on my show. He said, when I mentioned about Kevin Smith, And I said, yeah, I'd love to be in Kevin Smith's shoes where I could just basically, luck out in life and, have one thing that would turn out for me that I'd be on, so I'm kind of paraphrasing, like Easy Street the rest of my life. I wouldn't have to worry about, like, do what I really like to do. If it's interviewing people, being extras in movies, actually even just being a grip, to me, I would be, ecstatic just doing that. I'd be like so freaking happy if I could do stuff like that. Something that was in production or something. And so meeting people like the producer Roberto tonight actually is something that is my dream job, like doing stuff like that. The podcasting, it just seems like it's more convenient for me because as I've got excuse me, let me say that. As I have gotten older, it seems like I have more of a face for, radio than anything else. It just feels like that to me. So, yeah, I don't know. I just, the job I have, don't get me wrong, it pays well and it's fun. And I want to go into something that Roberto had mentioned too. But is it really what I want to do? Absolutely not. It's just like I'm kind of almost in that job because of the pay being so well. There's no other reason. And that the benefits are excellent too. That's a big thing too you need nowadays, especially when you're almost me. I'm almost pushing 50. I definitely need this stuff. So, yeah, but unfortunately, it's not making me happy at all. It's, it's not what I want to do. But one thing he had mentioned when, like, they made the film, when they were working on the film of Phantasm. I'm sorry, I'm just drawing a blank. My mind, I don't know what it is. More than usual. But he mentioned that they worked on this film only during the weekends, and it had taken a bit of time. And he actually mentioned, because I can't remember, this is why it would be great to actually meet him. Actually, even that would work out. Maybe if he's around locally, I can meet him somewhere. Just bring my equipment along and try to do some interview that way. Because they have like certain places, even in Phoenixville. I should mention that to him. Would that work out if I could find a place like a restaurant or something that I could just, set up my equipment, bring it along, and it might even be a little bit better on the sound quality as well. But, yeah, he mentioned that apparently they worked on the weekends because these people that were helping out with this movie, this film, like the extras, if you have ever saw or seen Phantasm, there was these little people that actually were little people. He said at first they tried to use kids, and it just did not work out because of the makeup, and they look like those. I can't remember from Star Wars. Those little things, those little creatures that had those little hoodies on, the brown hoodies in the original Star Wars movies. They kind of looked a little bit like that. It was just coincidental because I asked him about that. He said, yeah, that was just a coincidence. I was like, well, did somebody kind of have taken that idea off of somebody else? He said, no, it just worked out that way, so to speak. And I wish I could remember their names. Let's see if I can look for it real quick. I hate doing this during a podcast, but I do want to get this. I always say this. I want to get this done. Star Wars, the little... Boy, I am really spelling little hooded people. Now, when Roberto hears this, he's going to be surprised or not be surprised, like, wow, this sounds really bad. So, okay, freaky little hooded creatures actually did come up. I guess they're called Jawas. Because I love Star Wars, but I don't follow it that I need to know every creature in the movie. Yeah, I guess they're called Jawas. Well, the Jawas look very similar in their getup to what was in the movie of Phantasm. Now, the only thing was, though, the ones in Phantasm, I'm not even kidding, kids. God, folks, when I was a kid, it scared the crap out of me because I remember I told him tonight, Roberto, my dad was up one night. It was like, on late night when TV, when they used to do this, more so. I forget which channel did it. They would show like these classic horror movies or different types of films. And one night he was up really late. And of all things that was on TV was Phantasm. And my dad, the next day, he was up late. He doesn't do that any longer. But he was up really late, and he was like, yeah, there was this really weird film on last night, wild film, really crazy film where, he just went off about it for, I think, like days, maybe, at least a couple days, maybe even longer, mentioning how this movie was so crazy and it really, kept him like jumping on the edge of his seat at home on a rerun. And he was saying about these little people that were like little creatures, this parallel universe, and this steel ball just kept his attention and things like that. So, and it was like it did catch my attention when I was a kid, and then when I actually viewed it, it was like, yeah, this is a pretty crazy film because there was always these, eventually these sequels of the film being made. Of Phantasm. Now, that's the thing. When you think of Phantasm, that's the weird thing. There is that Disney film that's a cartoon. I think it's also called Phantasm, but I don't think it's spelled the same. But it does kind of make it a little confusing, a little bit. I can't even get that word out tonight. Confusion. It just kind of confuses people because one is a cartoon. Actually, I think the other one, I apologize, is called Fantasia. It's very close. But Phantasm is strictly a horror movie, a low-budget horror film. Now, it's funny because you say low budget, it's still, I think he mentioned, Roberto said it was like close to about $1 million at today's budget. If you would check out how much it would cost to make that same film now, in today's times, it would be close to $1 million. So, so that, technically that would be a low budget film. Like for you or I, $1 million would be like, wow, that's a lot of money. But for somebody who is, making a film, $1 million is actually not that much. I mean, you can make movies for $1 million, even actually less. And sometimes it's difficult, or sometimes they're really good. Now, what I said was two different things. The thing is, when you have, you're a person who's trying to make, break into film, and you make a low-budget film, because I think he kind of mentioned this too, Roberto, is you're going to try to work harder to make things look the way you want them to, almost, because you're working with like you're basically working with a shoestring budget. So you're going to pay attention to more of what you're doing, so to speak, I guess, and you're going to try your hardest to make whatever you do look as good as it can, and you're going to try to improvise as much as possible to get what you want on screen or on film. Now, when you have it's funny though, because it does seem to be the truth. Now, you can see like a film that was made for, I'm going to take a guess, like $100 million, or even more, because you think about that movie, for instance, Waterworld. That movie almost cost, I'm going to say almost close to $1 billion or something. It was something really ridiculously high, and it was like the worst film ever made. That's because when you have enough more money than you know what to do with, you're not actually thinking about making a good film. You're just thinking like, well, sky's the limit. I'll just put anything out. And I don't have to worry about focusing on props or anything like that because, hey, I'll just, cover it up with money, I guess. That probably doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, it seems like you you seem more focused when you're working with less than you would if you're working with, less money than you would be if you're working with more money. So, and I think that's what kind of sprouted. Actually, and I'd have to say people like Roberto, who have made that movie of Phantasm or produced it, and other people who have produced certain types of films that were low budget, actually, well, it opened a lot of doors because it showed, like, the average Joe Schmo like myself, if you really work hard at it, you can't put something else out, a film. And it's easier nowadays because, all you need basically, you can get a basic digital camera for under $20,000 probably. You don't need to really buy film because everything's shot digitally, and you can actually edit it on your, I would prefer, I don't really want to say on your PC. You can, but because you can buy Avid software for your PC. Now it's funny though, but that's the only where I've seen Avid software, which is actually, to me, it's very difficult to use, the Avid program. But you can use Avid, or I prefer Final Cut because I think that's what I have on my computers when I was doing editing. I would prefer Final Cut. Bottom line is, even Final Cut's only a couple $100. You buy a camera, you can buy even a cheaper camera. Don't get me wrong. I have a friend who I had interviewed, I guess, last year. Or was it the beginning of this year? I can't remember now. I thought it was last year sometime. And that's my friend, and, who made his little film, Agony, Ryan Loxton, and he just basically used an average, very, basic average, and he got his point across, and I really liked it. But he, got a basic, home handy cam, and he made his film, and it actually has been doing locally, I think it's been doing pretty well, and it actually looked, to me, I'm not going to say, I can't speak for other people, but I thought it looked pretty damn good. I liked it a lot. So the bottom line, and that only cost him no more than probably a few $100. So that's the thing nowadays, you don't need a lot of money. What you do need, though, is, inspiration, perspiration, too. I'm just kidding. Inspiration, a good idea, a couple people who are willing to work with you at no cost, and the rest is not that hard because most of the stuff nowadays people have at home, which are, your everybody, I think at this point, you can even buy one for, again, under $1,000. It's not going to look elaborate. It's not going to be 4K. No, I don't know. Maybe they do have 4K under $1,000. I doubt it, but you never know. Yeah, and just, what you got to do is, because I mentioned this years ago, is come up with a good treatment plan. And, a good treatment plan, from there, kind of develop a script, get somebody to scout out locations. Like my friend Brian, he actually did all this stuff on his own because it was his idea from beginning to end what he wanted to do of Agony. But I always say, yeah, a good script, a good treatment plan, which would be what the final product's going to look like. And you don't even have to go that far. If you want somebody else to help fund your movie, all you have to do, according to Roberto, if I remember correctly, is sometimes all you need is just to come up with like a good opening, or film just like a short scene of what you want to do, or make some type of trailer that once people see this trailer, they're going to say, yeah, I'd like to see this made into a film. That, and he mentioned one that was actually like that, and it was a movie I actually enjoyed, that I actually did see, and I can't remember the name, so I apologize. This would be stuff I would ask him if I actually get to talk to him again, because it's kind of difficult. I'm sure he's on a tight schedule too. Also, my tight schedule is not with what I want to do, though. Mine is actually with, I'm actually at a half an hour already. Mine is actually with work, my 9 to 5 job, and I haven't got into that yet, so I guess I ran out of apologies because it would be another apology coming up there. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, but people like that actually opened a lot of doors for people who, like myself, who want to be, I want to be producer, or actually I just wanted to get my face in front of the camera as much as I'd like to get behind. My problem is, though, well, I'm sure people pick up on this. Roberto probably did too. I'm a very nervous ninny when I'm not behind my mic. Like, I feel like almost like Howard Stern in that way, because I think at least the way he portrayed himself in the film, when he's not on the mic, he's kind of like very unsure of himself, very nervous, almost to the point that you kind of almost are a turnoff to people. And I know I am. But once I'm behind the mic, or if I'm doing a proper setup on an interview, like if I would interview with my setup I have right now, I am less nervous. It's like my security blanket is this microphone, and it has become that way. Became that way when I started doing this, I guess. Not at first. It was very difficult to, get down how I wanted to produce a show. Honestly, it's like breaking in a new pair of shoes, where I had to kind of work myself into where I am at now. Because if you listen to shows, actually my first couple shows I no longer have, and that's simply because they were done from, I used some other source to upload my shows on before I used Spreaker. And that I got rid of, and I lost those shows as well, and they were really bad. Actually, some of them on Spreaker, which do go back quite a ways, the last year and a half when I started this, are pretty bad themselves. They're not that great. I mean, I've had shows that are just so god-awful that I've said this before, I really cannot listen to myself. It just makes me want to, vomit because they're so bad. So I really want to stray. I'm, nothing new with me, right? So, yeah, but the one thing I was going to mention again was I was really surprised when he mentioned on, the Q&A at tonight's showing screening, I should say, of tonight's screening of Phantasm, was that, these people, they had real, not real jobs. They had, to me, if you could do this full time, filming and doing stuff, this would be like a job that I would love to make my real job. But it's never going to happen. I know that. But yeah, he said, yeah, it was difficult for some, I guess, because these guys actually had to, the main actors had other jobs, like jobs that they, pay their bills, and this was done on the weekends once again. And, yeah, it kind of made me feel comfortable because I did, little skits and stuff, and they're on YouTube under my name of Walter Interrante, but I generally did those the same way. I would do them, after work or during the weekends when I had the chance. And even that was kind of difficult because the one person was my friend Todd. We did stuff together quite a few times. I had to kind of work around his work schedule and then also my own. And that made it really, really difficult because it never seemed to work out like that good, because sometimes it would be like I'd have to wait a couple weekends to meet up with him just to do something. So, yeah. So hearing that, it kind of just wow, this is cool. You could actually make something that, because if you think about it, or if you haven't heard of it, you should really check out, which I'm sure everybody has, is the film Phantasm. Because I was thinking for a minute, because I thought I might have said, it's a Phantasm, or, yeah. See, I get that. I'm going to even get myself confused now. Phantasm and, because it's PH. I think the other one's spelled with an F. Let me move my thing down. Make sure I got the right way of saying it. Yeah, Phantasm. That movie's a cult classic even today. That was released, it said March 28th, 1979, folks. So, and that is actually really surprising, like, that this film still has, like, a cult following today. So, yeah. And by the way, it was pretty cool, too. With the other people that worked on the film, they were actually being, I guess, like some type of, I want to say like telecast or something from Texas, live screening, doing like an interview on the film screen. So that was really cool. So not only was the producer there, but the other members who were in Texas were in another location to basically do the rest of the interview for the audience members, at least besides in Phoenixville, other locations as well. So, that was awesome. And again, I have to thank my friend Matt, mainly for me, because if it wasn't for Matt, I would have never even known about this situation also. So, and I always do look for new plugs. I just go about it that it's not very, I don't know, it's just kind of not easy. Honestly, it has become a little easier, but I do have a difficult time trying to say what I want to say. Or I also have a difficult time, like, because my friend Matt did give me some good advice. He says, before you go in and interview somebody or talk to them, one, you got to know their name, which I mistakenly have forgotten people's names before that I'm trying to interview. And two, kind of get a little bit of a background information on that particular person that you want to interview. So, I lucked out the one time because the best interview I had was with Ryan Logsdon, because I really didn't know much about him besides his film, and I basically was reflecting on or asking him about stuff I liked about his film. But he basically took over the show, which was perfect. I like people who I can kind of just nudge a little bit and let them kind of, coast me through the interview. And it's luck of the draw, because you're not always going to have that happen. But when I can get somebody that kind of takes control of a particular episode or a show, I don't mind that, honestly. My friend Matt Torrance, we've done that before. That I let him kind of take over the show. I don't have a problem with that either. I actually really do appreciate that. It just makes it easier for me. So I felt like I'm, honestly, because my friend Matt said, "Oh, you did a show, I'm doing a show now." And and the reason is I feel like I'm compelled to do so, because this man, like Roberto, really went out of his way to like talk to me and stuff. He was very nice to everyone too. So that just meant so much to me and the other folks that were there. And where's his card? Because he gave me his business card. And I apologize, I don't know the names of the other guys. But I also really want to thank Charles Francesco, because that guy actually brings some really cool stuff. He actually, I think they should really, they've gotten some good celebrity guests too, don't get me wrong, at Phoenixville Theater, but those guys like Charles Francesco and the other guys that work with him, those guys really do draw the crowds for like Phoenixville, because they really get some cool stuff. So I gotta thank those guys as well. Because you definitely unfortunately it was great, but also you kind of my weekend. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not complaining. But now my weekend is over, Bill Most, because now it's going to be Sunday. I'm going to be running around, and then Monday, back to work again. And that's a good thing. You want your, weekends to be filled with things to do. And obviously, I slept a lot too. That did not help the situation. But yeah, I had a blast tonight. I mean, and this to me means so much more because I grew up, folks, with horror movies and stuff. Horror films, and a lot of ones that these guys directed, produced, or acted in. And I haven't actually, I just remember I didn't get to the main point with Roberto. I'm almost have to replay his name to make sure I don't say it incorrectly. And I really don't want to do that. But a lot of the films these guys did, I grew up watching these films, and I loved them. I mean, and Phantasm was definitely one on my list. So let me see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't figure out how to say without ruining it. I don't want to. So I'm just going to keep with your first name, Roberto. One thing else that you mentioned on your interview or Q&A, which was really cool. I did not know this. You mentioned that one of your biggest fans, so to speak, or one of the people you influenced the most, which actually, this is the name that I should have mentioned earlier, that people will recognize, is J.J. Abrams. Now, J.J. Abrams, if you watch the remastered copy of Phantasm, Bad Robot is in there. That's J.J. Abrams. So I think I might have mentioned that to him, but so that is like really cool. So yeah, he actually, I think he mentioned Quentin Tarantino. Roberto did, and I'm gonna cough real quick. Oh, maybe not. I might have to bend my rules once again, which I said I wasn't, and because I'm not gonna stop the show, dude. People, it's just too hard. Wait, let me listen. Oops, I turned down the volume. So, Roberto, I am so sorry. God, it's the first time I've ever done anything like this, by the way. So, here we go. I'm going to try it again.
Hi, this is Roberto Quezada, and I'm here.
Roberto Quezada. Roberto Quezada. See, I'm doing it so I can remember. I'm going to do it again.
Hi, this is Roberto Quezada, and I'm here.
Roberto Quezada has influenced, I'm sorry about that. I did it like 50 times tonight, so I apologize for that, but I just want to make sure I get his name right. Roberto Quezada. I think that's the way you say it. I apologize. But you've influenced, from what I've understood, J.J. Abrams. Everybody knows that man. He's done Star Wars now, Star Trek, the movies. He's made the newer ones, I should say. And obviously Lost. And what else was there that he... Quentin Tarantino. He mentioned something about Quentin Tarantino tonight. Roberto did. And it was like, people... And then it was kind of a shock because he had mentioned it to me and my friend Matt that... who came up to him and said that we ripped you off, with Phantasm. Like, this director or producer actually... Oh, who was it? Because he forgot the name. I forget the name now. Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street. And by the way, Roberto, there is a young guy out there who would love to hear that from you. And the reason I have to say this, because it's this woman's son on Facebook. Her name is Debbie Haverland, and she's got a son who... I'm sorry to say, I've said this before, but he's kind of like he's a vegetable, but he loves horror movies, and I forget his name. His name is Derek. Really nice guy. This kid, he's 27, but I consider him a kid. This kid loves horror movies, and his all-time favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street. So Wes Craven. So, but Wes Craven came right up to Roberto and told him, like, listen, I'm not going to hide the fact that I ripped off your movie with Nightmare on Elm Street. So, because these producers, these directors are very much so influenced by this film producer that I have been mentioning all night. So that is like really awesome. But yeah, this woman, Debbie Haverland, she's got a son. And I try to, like, because I love the dude, the fact that he likes horror movies. He's okay in my book. Hey, you love horror movies. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. I don't care what your problem is. You have not a problem in the world then, because you love horror movies. So, yeah, I tell you, that would be one person I wish you could reach out to, honestly, because, yeah, I mean, because in my book, this kid is cool. I mean, and I don't know, honestly. He might actually like Phantasm as well. I can't really say, but I'm sure he does, because he likes all these horror movies. So, I'm actually, if you haven't noticed yet, this is going to be like the shortest show. I'm running out of things to say. I really wanted to do this. I'm actually looking for some stuff too. Now, one thing on a different note from the film works. I'm seeing one. By the way, I've never seen. I don't know who made this, but I do want to eventually rent a copy or buy a copy. It's this movie called Rabbit. Not Rabbit like a Bugs Bunny rabbit. No, I'm talking a movie about a woman who is a rabbit, like she's got rabies. Some horror film. And that is one of the films, believe it or not, I've never saw, but I want to check out. And unfortunately, they never put it on streaming, so I can't. Now, they did put one of my favorite films that's kind of like embarrassing to say you like. I don't know. But it's a Cronenberg film, I believe. It's that movie where everybody is sex zombies. That film is like so exotically wrong that I just love it. So I'm going to look in Rabbit, though, real quick, because I don't even know who made that film. Yeah, I think it's only a film you can buy. Unfortunately, I'd rather just kind of rent it, but it seems like it's never possible. Yeah, it's a David Cronenberg film, actually. Rabbit. Now, see that I know about Cronenberg, though, because Cronenberg's made a lot of like good films. Also, he's a great director as well. In addition to, I should say, because he's made like Videodrome. I've seen most of Cronenberg stuff. I actually, when I was going through this phase, Shivers, because you could actually buy a Cronenberg collection for not that expensive, which has Dead Zone, Rabbit, and Shivers all on one disc. Maybe I should get that. So Cronenberg collection, it's only like $30. So, because again, I would love, and Shivers is actually it's like one of those sinful films you really don't want to admit that you like it. I'm telling you right now, because it starts out with, like, I think the first zombie you see, or who is actually being raped or whatever, it's vice versa, is a young girl. So, and yes, it is extremely wrong. Trust me, I'm not even just saying that to be kind. No, it is just plain wrong. Yeah, I didn't know that Cronenberg actually did the Dead Zone, that film called The Dead Zone. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can find. I wouldn't mind owning Shivers, though, but that's actually a movie I can actually stream at this point. Yeah, Marilyn Chambers was in Rabbit, though. Yeah, but Cronenberg's made some really good films again as well. But that Shivers is one, as I mentioned before, is one you don't want to admit you like, because it's definitely kind of very perverse in many wrong ways, in my opinion. But actually, in my opinion, there is no wrong way for that film. I like it. I really like it. I'm trying to look on eBay, actually, as I'm doing a show, because my friend Matt picked on me because I told him I bought a movie I couldn't stand when I finally got to see it, which was now. Roberto likes it. I really don't like it, but it is a classic horror film by many people's opinion, and it was that movie Suspiria. I thought it was awful, but I just wanted it for nostalgic reasons, so I bought it on Blu-ray. I didn't pay that much. Trust me, you can buy it cheap because the Blu-ray is kind of I got it from China, so I got it for like $10 on Blu-ray. But why did you buy it, Walter? Well, the reason was, I'm trying to explain this to Matt, and I hope this makes sense, was because when I was a little kid, this movie from the commercial gave me freaking nightmares, just a commercial. So, and I just wanted to see if, I wanted to own it just, again, because this film for almost 30 or 40 years kept me from sleeping. I'm not even kidding. It kept me awake. So there's no other better reason, in my opinion, than that this movie just, this movie scared the crap out of me as a kid. Not watching it. Let me rephrase that. Not from watching it, but from just seeing the commercials over the years when I used to watch Dr. Shock and other things. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I literally, to this day, thanks to that freaking Suspiria, I sleep with fucking lights on because that fucking commercial scared the crap out of me. So, yeah, it's something it definitely burned something into my memory that I just can't forget. And it's like one of those things, like maybe subconsciously I'm thinking like, okay, if I own this where I can actually hold on to it, I'll be able to contain this nightmare I've had for the last, I mean, it makes no sense. I understand that. But this nightmare I've had for the last, what do you call it? Like 30, 40 years. I'm pushing 50 now. But it had taken that long for me, one, to figure out the name of the film, and two, to get this nightmare to finally end. Because when I saw the film, I'm sorry, it was like, this is the movie that kept me awake for 30 years, not be able to sleep correctly? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm being a bit sarcastic now, but I'm being totally honest too. I'm just trying to clarify that for my friend Matt, that this film really bothered me. Now, the one thing that Roberto said that actually I'm glad he did was that, I was I did a really lousy job on asking him this, so I apologize again, but what was it? Yeah, the thing was, like, I forget what film. Oh, actually, it was The Watchmen. I couldn't remember when I was telling him this, but certain films, when you tried to make them into 4K, when they were strictly shot on film, and didn't he explain to Roberto had explained to me that there's different types of film you can use, like different, what do you call it, like quality of film, like what is it, ISO, I think he used was the term, because I know ISO is what the aperture, or what is it, ISO is, if I remember correctly, is I'm trying to think of the right word, it's like when you take still shots from cameras and stuff. God, I'm regurgitating food of some sort, I don't know. So yeah. Yeah, I know, like, you can change your ISO and on your still cameras. So I assume it's like the same thing with film, because film is basically film. All it is, it's moving pictures, it's moving still shots. What is it, 30 frames per second, 32 frames? I should know this, and I do forget, by the way. Yeah, but it's something like that. So films, I mean, that's why it's called motion pictures, because you're taking still film, frames. You're taking frames and multiple frames, And if you put them together, it makes the picture move. That's why it's called motion pictures. Am I doing a good job of explaining that correctly? Probably not, but I'm trying to. Give me the benefit of the doubt. I am trying to. Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. So, yeah. So, yeah, but he was explaining to me that, yeah, well, certain films, if they weren't shot, like, I forget what he used. I wish he was here to help me out with this. Maybe I'll get the chance to do this interview with him, even on the phone or some other way. That, I'm trying to think. That, sorry about that, folks. That, like, if you have better quality film to start out with, if you do move it to 4K or if you clean it up like an old film, like he said, I think for which film he was mentioned, I totally forgot. He said there was a particular film he actually had seen over at, God, I'm drawing a blank now. Over at, sorry, at the IMAX here that was shot on 70 millimeter film, and he said it looked really good when it was on 4K. So the bottom line is, if you're shooting with a higher, if I remember correctly, if I'm getting him, if I'm saying it correctly from what Roberto said, if you shoot, because he's a film person, he's the film producer, so he has to know about this stuff. So if you're shooting on film and what is it? Yeah, if you're shooting on film and it is like a higher, what is it, ISO film, you're definitely, I'm trying to think of the right word. You're definitely going to have more you can work with if you want to, like, clean the film up later on, so to speak. So that's what I'm gathering. Like, okay, if you have like a high quality film, the film that's been shot on, like, it'll have less grain basically. So if you shoot a film that is shot on at a higher ISO or higher quality of film, later on, if you like say, okay, I want to clean up this film, nowadays, like if you take an older film that was shot on 70 millimeter film or on, I thought he said higher ISO quality film. I should check that up to see what that stands for. Let me see if I can do that right now, because then I won't be making no sense. ISO film. Sorry about that. Okay, film speed is the measure of photographic film sensitivity to light. He did mention something like this, determined by the symmetry and the measured on various numerical scales. The most recent is being the ISO system. It's closely related to ISO systems and is used to measure the sensitivity of digital imaging systems. So I think this makes more sense to at least me, because I know for the past half hour I made no sense. But again, it says the ISO speed determines how sensitive the camera is to incoming light. So they shot this actually at nighttime and on weekends, I think, or at least during the weekends, the film of Phantasm. So, but he said they used a very high ISO, a camera that had, they could set the ISO speed. It was a higher ISO camera. Now, this is not a still camera, because I use affiliate ISO to, still photography, which he's actually into now. He did mention that he's into still photography. So, back in 79, was it 79 that I said that film came out? You're talking, what is it? You're talking a film that's why it was, for that time, it was actually a rather expensive film to make. Even though it was a low budget film, it was also at the same time rather expensive, at least with the film camera they used, because the camera they used was, like probably most of the money for the film was that camera. But it shot high quality film for that time. I'm trying to look for the date that this movie came out again, 1979. So the good thing was, again, I mentioned one of the people who really was influenced by this film was J.J. Abrams. That's what got him interested in film work. One of the things that got him interested in the film work was this movie Phantasm. So he wanted a good copy, J.J. Abrams, because he loved that film. So he actually worked on restoring the film. J.J. Abrams had done so, of Phantasm. But he was able to do a very good job. He was able to restore it to like almost beyond perfect from what it originally had looked like, the film of Phantasm, because it was shot on such a high, I want to call it like, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's ISO. I want to call it resolution, such a high quality resolution, whatever you want to call it, a film. So I did not know that, because I was trying to tell him there was a film and I couldn't remember, but it was that movie Watchmen, where you could actually see grain in the film, even when it was brought up to 4K. And I'm actually really glad that Roberto had said what he mentioned, because I was kind of questioning. I wasn't sold on 4K. Roberto is, being a person who, basically works in film. And I can see why now, though, because as long as you're working with a good print, it is not difficult to make a 4K version of that film. So I'm looking to see what they actually did or will release, because I don't see it listed, but J.J. Abrams did make a 4K copy, which he did show tonight. So, in theaters. So, and I was fortunate enough to meet up with the producer. So that was actually a bonus on top of the bonus. So it was restored using 4K technology. It says right here, you could actually rent it online, pre-order movie. At least you can pre-order it for streaming. Because I'm looking on Amazon, it says Phantasm Remastered, the 4K remastered original classic that started it all, in which two brothers discovered their local mortuary hides a legion of hooded killer dwarfs. I can't even say that right. A flying drill ball and a demonic mortician who enslaves the souls of the damned. So, there you go. Excuse me. I'm looking at if his name's on there. For some reason, the producer who I met tonight, he's not actually listed, which is kind of a surprise. I'm kind of glad. See, that's the thing. He's, so to speak, the man behind the curtain. Using that phrase from, from Wizard of Oz. I mean, he truly is like the genius behind this film work. So, because he's a very important person, was Roberto. So, I think his name does. He went upon the first one uncredited, but then the second one, I don't know if his name actually made it in somewhere in the credits. No, not even the second one. You really have to dig for his name. So, I'm kind of now a little bit pleased to hear that, 4K does have some use, because honestly, I was ready to throw in the towel on the whole 4K thing until he had kind of explained it to me. And again, if I can do an interview with him, I'm up for it, because I would really like to ask him a lot of stuff and actually clarify, because I know right now, let's face it, I'm not doing a very good job, who am I kidding if I say, well, what are you talking about? I'm doing a great job. So, no, I'm not. I'm doing a horrendous job on trying to explain myself. Yeah, so it'd be better if I can actually have him here. So, I'm sorry, I'm like a little bit long-winded, like always. Walter, you're always long-winded. Yeah, I know I am. But, and one thing I wanted to explain, this is what I meant like when I was talking about work. I wanted to incorporate work tonight as not a tool for complaining about, but actually when Roberto had said that work was, what do you call it? Work was, we had to work around people's jobs to make this film. It just kind of like opened up a whole different new door for me. It was like, wow, you can actually, people, the way they get their stardom is they have to, like Kevin Smith did that also. He worked at a convenience store during the days, and at night he shot his film, and this is the same thing with this one. With this film of Phantasm. So that really was really cool. He was where I'm looking at. He has the Phantasm t-shirt on too. Very nice man again. I apologize. I'm over an hour and it's just so long-winded. I just wanted to get this out. Oh, yeah, folks, I forgot. I apologize again, for the millionth time. But what I'm going to do tomorrow, I actually ordered, because I got like a faster hybrid hard drive. What I want to do is, since they did put out, I've been waiting for this to happen. I didn't know what's going to happen soon. The new ISO, OS. I'm sorry, ISO. OS of Mac. I wanted to get a clean, fresh hard drive to stick it on, and I have 3 4 terabyte hard drives in my Mac machine right now. My desktop, my cheese grater desktop. So, and I kind of messed up certain files on the OS I'm running right now. It's not causing any harm at all. But I figured if I can get a decent speed hard drive or decent size hard drive, I have one bay that's open in my machine. And I wanted to fill that with a brand new, never touched hard drive and put this new OS on here of Mac OS. What is it, 10.10 or something? Or no, I think it's 10.12. Sierra, something like that. And this way, if I have any problems, I'll just torch it. I'm not going to lose everything else. And, to be on a separate drive, that will just have the OS and everything else will go on my backup drives then. So that's what I had planned for tomorrow besides some laundry. This was like a pleasant surprise. Thank you, Matt, for introducing me to this group of people tonight. I think that was really cool. And folks, before I just really make absolutely even less sense than I do now, I should really cut this short. So I want to thank everybody who does listen to me, and if I pick up new audience members, that's even better yet. As the people I meet, local celebrities, big-time celebrities, blah, 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 has seemed to have, grown a little bit as my show has progressed, or my episodes have progressed. So that's really cool, too. Thanks again, folks, for listening to me. This is Walter from iWalter, and yes, I am going to sign off for now.